Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where Karen lies about the father of her baby and really ends up regretting it. Am I the jerk for treating my sister like a criminal since my nephew found out she lied about his father his whole life? My sister got married for the first time 20 years ago. She was 20 and she and her husband had dated on and off since they were 17. She proposed to him, and at the time she acted like she didn't because she loved him so much and knew she was ready to settle down. She got pregnant 3 years later, but he passed before their son, aka my nephew, was born. By that point, their marriage hadn't been great, and she admitted to me that she proposed because he had wanted them to break up for good, and she hadn't wanted that to happen. Despite them being bad together, he was so looking forward to being a good father and had started a little keepsake box when he found out he was going to be a dad. I took that after he passed and kept it safe because my sister wanted to throw it out. I knew someday my nephew would like the idea that his dad loved him, even if they never got to meet. My sister has no idea. Less than a year later, she met her current husband, and they got married after dating for 8 months. He adopted my nephew before his second birthday. They also changed my nephew's last name to reflect their marriage name, his adoptive father's name. My sister did not allow her late husband's family to see my nephew. Because she remarried and he was adopted, our state did not allow for grandparents' rights. They did try to seek some sort of legal access, but my sister did not want my nephew to know her husband was not his biological father. She told our whole family we had to act like her husband was her son's real father, because to her, that's who he was. My sister and her husband had other kids as well, and they were a mostly happy family. There were times my nephew would ask questions about his birth and why there were no photos of him as a baby with his parents, but they made up lies to make it believable. My sister's husband served in the military before they met, and they pretended he was overseas serving when my nephew was born. A few months ago, right after my nephew turned 16, one of his cousins on his paternal side reached out on social media. His cousin is also 16 and told him the truth. He came to me first, and I comforted him and apologized for being part of the lie. I told him I had wanted to be there when he found out instead of losing touch for refusing. He understood. I was the only person to apologize to him, and as of now, he's very angry with his parents and made it clear he won't work on forgiving them. He called them bad parents and refuses to go back to how things were. My sister has been left upset by him turning on them, and she's tried to lean on me, but I have very little sympathy or pity for her. She's picked up on it too, because I tell her that I understand how my nephew feels the way he does, instead of saying that I understand her. Just the other day, she told me I treat her like a criminal since my nephew found out. I told her I don't see her as the victim in any of this. She said I should be a more compassionate sister. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your sister lied about your nephew's father and now he's hurt. Supporting him is important. Your sister's actions caused this, so it's okay to feel frustrated with her. You can be there for her, but still hold her accountable. Not the jerk. Your sister and her husband tried erasing her son's father from his life instead of allowing him to build a relationship with her husband knowing the facts. She removed the family that included all of his dad's family. She forced her own family to contribute to her lies or risk not being able to see him. She lied from the point of birth as to why there weren't any baby pictures and every day since. She may not be a criminal, but to her son, neither her nor her husband can be trusted. She didn't even do it because it was what was best for son. She did it because it's what she wanted to do, and she seems to get what she wants. So no, there is no reason to treat what she did as right. I'm about to ruin my best friend's life, and I don't feel remorse. Plus, final update. My soon-to-be ex-best friend and I have been friends since middle school. We know everything about each other, and our families are basically one big family now. You get the idea. Like I said, we tell each other everything. Recently, she came to me bragging about having an affair for the past 4 months with her superior at her new job. She started about a year ago. She told me not out of guilt, but to boast about the dream vacation she's going on with her affair partner, disguised as a work trip. She asked me to cover for her if her husband asks if we've been in contact because she's planning to go silent that week so he has no way of finding out. Side note, we've both known her husband since high school. They're high school sweethearts, together for almost 15 years. Her husband is one of the most honest, hardworking, and genuine people I know. He, of course, took everything she said about working late and the business trip at face value because he trusts her more than he trusts himself. I told her I would not be covering for her and to get out of my house because I couldn't even look at her right now. Later, I told my husband everything that happened, and he was just as shocked and disgusted. Her husband is basically his best friend now, so he feels a sort of loyalty to him as well. My husband pointed out something I didn't even think of, our security camera. It caught everything. We plan on going to her husband tonight with the proof. It will be up to him to decide what to do with it, but he deserves to know. Secondly, we're considering reporting this to her job. As far as I know, fraternization of any kind is prohibited there. She was also promoted by this same supervisor, so this could be seen as favoritism. Our guess is that they both could be fired. Finally, I'm considering sending a snippet of her admitting the affair to all of her family members, including mine. Our families are very intertwined, so I can easily contact most of them. I don't want to give her a chance to spin this against me or her husband. Some may think this is harsh, but I wholeheartedly disagree with what she's doing. Edit. I decided to take the advice of some commenters and leave it up to her husband to decide whether to go nuclear or not. As some of you pointed out, he may decide to stay with her, and going nuclear could ruin his life in turn. The other reason is that going nuclear and making her lose her job could affect the outcome of the divorce. We still plan to tell him, but we have decided against the other two options for now. I'll let her husband know that if she tries to pin this on us or tells anyone a single lie, I'll do a 180 and go nuclear. I will not be seen as the villain for a situation I didn't ask to be in. She was the one who thought it was smart to tell her monogamous friend with traditional values that she's cheating on her spouse. She can lie in the bed she made. Update. I decided to take the advice of a few people and reach out to Alyssa before going to her husband. I recorded the conversation and told her it was for my safety. She still seemed extremely nonchalant about the whole thing. I told her I was worried for her and this behavior seemed very out of character. Long story short, she said she's felt weak and unbalanced in her marriage with Noah. For context, Noah went to trade school and makes good money, while up until her promotion, Alyssa was making slightly above minimum wage. She's been reading up on anti-traditional values online, and the women in those forums attacked her for making less than her husband. She then noticed her supervisor flirting with her, and her internet friends told her to use him to get ahead, which she did. But she admitted she's become emotionally attached to him as well. In the end, she said she doesn't really regret the affair because it helped her career and she found love. I told her she had the option to tell Noah before me, but my husband and I were coming over tonight with proof of the affair, so she wouldn't be able to sway it in her favor. Again, she nonchalantly said, okay, and hung up on me. I don't know what's going on with her. I can't tell if she's having a psychotic break or if it's just completely detached from her marriage. My husband and I are still planning on telling Noah tonight, but I'm genuinely curious about what she'll say to him, if she says anything at all. Edit. I'm pretty sure we'll be fine legally if we ever end up sharing the footage. We've decided against it for now. She knew we had cameras in our house. We have a very obvious Ring doorbell as well as outdoor cameras. The indoor ones are obvious as well. Plus, where we live, you have the right to record on your property without permission, so there would be no ability to retaliate against us. This is the whole reason I got so upset. She's a new hire with basically no experience in the field, and she got a promotion for the stereotypical hooking up with the boss. She's always been the person to look for loopholes or easier ways to do things, but this is a new low. I hope at the very least the supervisor gets fired. Someone like that shouldn't be in a position of power because they obviously can't handle it. I've thought about making an anonymous tip to the company about him specifically, but I don't want it to lead back to my ex-friend, for now. OP on telling Alyssa's husband about the video evidence and then going nuclear. OP. The only reason I'm against it for now is because of some insightful comments. He's a very good man, and he might forgive her and decide to reconcile. Even though I don't agree with it, it's his decision, and I don't want to ruin his life by letting everyone know he stayed with a cheater. Someone also said affecting her job could affect the outcome of a divorce, and I wouldn't want anything to play against him. I completely agree, and hubby and I decided against going nuclear because, at the end of the day, soon-to-be ex will be the only one who gets hurt. It will be solely his decision, unless she tries to spread rumors or lies about me, my husband, or soon-to-be ex. I plan to tell him that if she decides to try and spin this, I'll send a clip of the video to anyone she tells and let it spread from there. OP, please be prepared for her husband to stay with his wife and cut you and your husband off. Marriages are complicated, and sometimes things don't play out the way you imagine they will. You should tell him 100%, but what he does with that information is up to him. And please remember that this is not just blowing up your ex-friend's life, it's blowing up her husband's life too. It's his call whether he wants to go nuclear or not. OP, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he decides to stay with her. He's a very forgiving man and may be willing to give it a shot. As tough as it will be, we do see ourselves going no contact with both of them unless a divorce were to take place. Because as much as we'd love to continue being friends and support her husband, If ex-friend is part of the deal, we can't support that. Update. As many have said, at the end of the day, it's not my circus. The decision should be left up to the wronged party, and that's Noah. I also decided to reach out to Alyssa before telling Noah and give her a chance to confess herself. After I talked to her, I was genuinely thinking about reaching out to her parents about medical help because she was so unbothered and non-remorseful about the affair that I thought she was having some sort of mental breakdown. Yeah, Alyssa's always been the kind to find loopholes and ways ahead, but cheating on your spouse of almost 2 decades for financial gain? It's not normal. She admitted she couldn't separate her feelings from the intimate aspect and started going on regular dates and vacations, and eventually they began calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend. The affair partner knows she's married, but was told they were on the verge of separation. My hubby and I arrived at Noah and Alyssa's with some booze and dinner, and by the time we got there, Noah had already gone through a bottle of wine. Surprisingly, Alyssa did confess to Noah about the affair. He told us it was extremely non-apologetic though. She sat him down and told him that she wasn't going on a business trip this week. She was going on a vacation with her boyfriend. Noah, being the clueless and loyal person he is, thought she meant to say husband and got excited. He asked if they were going to Italy like they had planned, and Alyssa just stared at him. She repeated, "With my boyfriend." It took a few minutes, but it finally sank in. He told us it wasn't pretty after that and said he embarrassingly got on his knees and begged her to fix everything. She yelled for a bit, then just stonewalled him again. She was already packed to leave and just kept him there sobbing. She turned off her location, which both Noah and I were a part of her family on the app, and we have no idea where she went. We assume she went to her affair partner's house because if she had gone home with 2 suitcases, her mother would have reached out to Noah immediately. She sees him as a son. We sat down with Noah and said we had video and audio proof of Alyssa exposing and explaining the affair, and we would send it to him in case he needs it. I explained to him that in a moment of blind rage, I was planning on going scorched earth and telling everyone, but once I calmed down and looked at this rationally, I realized that wasn't the right thing to do. The only person going full nuclear would hurt is him because Alyssa obviously doesn't care anymore. As I suspected, the idea of reconciliation is still on his mind, but he doesn't see it happening. In order to reconcile, both parties must admit fault and want to reconcile. Alyssa clearly doesn't. We've gotten him in contact with a friend of my hubby who agrees to help him pro bono until the divorce shows results. I can tell he's still hesitant about going forward with the divorce, but he knows he can't force Alyssa to stay. As comments have suggested, this is where we bow out. We're obviously going to continue to support Noah, but it's not our situation to handle, it's his. Thanks for helping me realize that how Noah handles his life and his marriage is his responsibility, not mine. Am I in love with Noah? Of course not. Singing someone's praises and trying to portray them as a genuine and good person doesn't automatically mean you want to hook up with them. Our relationship has been nothing more than platonic for the entire time I've known him because he loved Alyssa, and I loved their happiness. I love my husband and literally only ever saw Noah like a brother. Logic, people. I hope the husband has some self-respect and dignity and goes through with the divorce. If he decides to inform their employer, tell him to do it after the divorce. OP. As much as I love the guy, he basically worships the ground Alyssa walks on. If she came through the door right now and said sorry, even with no remorse behind it, I'm 99% sure he'd pretend like the last 4 months were a fever dream. Update. Everything bad that could have happened has happened. The past 2 days specifically have been absolutely horrible. I don't know if it was the day that she left or the day after, but Alyssa and a affair partner went on their vacation. The only reason I know is that she posted pictures all over social media of her and a affair partner. She had absolutely no shame. It was very clear that even if she wasn't divorced, this was her new boyfriend, which, of course, notified her family of the issues. Noah's phone was blowing up with apologies, accusations, everything you could think of. Noah, being the people pleaser he is, decided to tell her family they were on a mutual break, instead of telling everybody she cheated and that a affair partner was the reason. Alyssa's mom, fortunately, didn't believe him and came to me. I didn't hold back. I told her that Alyssa had been cheating on Noah for months and that she recently bragged to me about her sugar daddy affair partner, and that's the only reason she's come clean to Noah. Alyssa's mom then dropped a bomb on me that I didn't even know. Alyssa is a serial cheater. Her mom said that in high school, Alyssa would bring guys home under the guise of school projects or sports-related things, but she caught Alyssa kissing 2 different guys. Keep in mind, she was dating Noah all this time. She said she didn't think much of it and just chalked it up to being a crazy teenager. She also said she never expected her to marry her high school boyfriend. and by the time they were married, she figured Alyssa had stopped doing all of that. Neither she nor I have any idea if Alyssa has done anything like that. This just explains why Alyssa was so nonchalant about cheating, because apparently she's always done it. I'm guessing her girl boss friends awakened something inside her and she remembered how easily and nonchalantly she would cheat, which inspired her to do it again. I'll be honest, I kind of yelled at her mother, something I'm not proud of. Like I've said in previous posts, Alyssa's mom is basically my mom, so formalities and everything aren't something I think about when I talk to her. So I freaked out and told her she set Noah up for this kind of life when he could have found somebody 10 times better. She took it like a champ and just let me vent until I was calm again. I apologized for yelling, but calmly said, "You and I both know Noah deserves better. You should have said something before he got married to her." She agreed, but said that it's too late now to focus on that, and that the real issue at this time was supporting Noah. I told her if she wanted to support Noah, she could have told him his fiancé was a cheater 10 years ago and hung up on her. I've since talked to her and we're fine, but I was just too mad at her in that moment. The next thing that happened was that the photos got back to a colleague and both of them were out of a job before their vacation was even over. As I assumed, their workplace was extremely upset and did consider Alyssa getting the promotion favoritism, so they were both let go. Noah told me that there were at least 3 HR complaints about them, so it was a no-brainer. Of course, the beautiful relationship Alyssa and her affair partner had turned sour as soon as he learned he was being let go from his 6-figure job because of her. He was so upset, he even canceled Alyssa's plane ticket home out of spite and planned to leave her stranded there. This is where you will be disappointed, and so will I. But Noah immediately forgave her, bought her a ticket, and moved her back in. She told him it was just a big mistake, and seeing how her affair partner treated her made her realize what she could have lost. It's obviously all BS to me and hubby, but Noah just ate it up. He's told us that he's urging her to go to couples counseling, but of course it's not an ultimatum, so basically she just got to have her cake and eat it with no consequences. We told Noah previously and reminded him that if he decided to take Alyssa back, we'd be going at the very least low contact. We kept our word and have completely blocked Alyssa and have Noah unblocked, but we don't plan to engage in small talk or invitations to anything. We refuse to be like him and just act like this never happened because that's not normal. He understood, but told us he has to stand by the vows he made to his wife, which we both understand to an extent and wished him well. So yeah, Alyssa got to hook up with another man, go on a nice vacation, lose her job, and still has a bed and a husband to come home to. All's well that ends well. I don't even know how to feel about this. Like, if they want to live their messed up, broken marriage life, that's their choice. I'm not even mad anymore, just drained. I'm almost glad it's over now because I don't even know if I could deal with this for months on end. I knew it was going to happen eventually. It's just who Noah is, but it feels just as idiotic as it sounds. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point. I feel bad for Noah. He'll always be a sucker for her, and she'll always get away with anything. No consequences for anything. Maybe one day he'll catch her with a guy in their own house and he'll snap out of it. You did the right thing the way you handled it and distanced yourself right now. Don't turn your back on Noah though. He's going to need people. I feel no sympathy for Noah. He needs to find some courage because she'll just cheat on him again and again and he will always stupidly take her back. You're completely justified in staying away from that mess. Don't want me to turn on the heat? Fine, then pay the extra $100 for electric heating. My housemates are the most insufferable people on the planet. I could go on for hours about the petty and downright aggressive things they've done, but for the sake of this post, I'll keep it short. Both of them have these ridiculous things they obsess over. One housemate freaks out if a drawer or cabinet is left even slightly open. If she catches you, she'll literally scream and threaten you. The other housemate is obsessed with the door, the leaky faucet he's convinced everyone is leaving on purpose, and the lights being turned on for even a second. Recently, he's decided to be petty about the heat being on at all. For context, it's a 2-story house. Housemate 1 sleeps downstairs, and housemate 2 and I sleep upstairs. I'm on the north side of the house, where the insulation is terrible. He's on the south side, where the insulation is great. Regardless, his actions aren't justified, especially since he's also a landlord for another property and knows the heat has to stay at least 60 degrees Fahrenheit to meet legal requirements and prevent pipes from freezing. I stay upstairs 99% of the time because I hate interacting with them, and they're downstairs most of the time, except when they sleep. He comes upstairs every few hours just to check the thermostat. If it's anything above off, he storms into my room, demanding I stop playing with the heat. This month, the nighttime temperatures have been around 40 degrees Fahrenheit at best, and last night it was around 35 Fahrenheit. I turned the heat up to 60, which is barely warm because I don't want the pipes to freeze and I have mice that literally can't survive in temperatures below 60 degrees Fahrenheit. But as soon as he came upstairs, he turned the heat all the way off and came into my room to yell at me while I was asleep. I know because my door was wide open when I woke up, and I always keep it closed and usually locked because of how crazy they are. I woke up at 1 a.m. to my room being 38 degrees Fahrenheit and my dog whining. So I went out and bought a 1500-watt convection heater and a heating pad for my mice, 20 watts, both of which I've been running nearly 24 hours a day. Here's the kicker. He's the one who pays the majority of the electric bill. If he wants to play Lord of the Thermostat to the point where it's almost criminal and risks damaging the house's pipes, then he can deal with the extra $200 a month in electricity costs to heat my room. Quick update. Last night, the temperature dropped to 28 Fahrenheit, and for the first time this year, my housemate finally turned the heat up to 60. But considering I've already spent $100 to deal with his nonsense, I no longer care. So I went over and turned it off. I sincerely hope he enjoys freezing tonight. My husband said I wasn't attractive enough to cheat on him. My husband is gorgeous. Everybody says so. I consider myself pretty but unremarkable. My features aren't exactly supermodel material, but I do the best I can with what God gave me. I have nice skin thanks to skincare and a decent body thanks to the gym, but compared to my husband, I might as well be a troll. Even my own mom was shocked at how attractive he was. It's the first thing people notice when we're out. I've had women flirt with him right in front of me and even had 2 girls I know try to get with him behind my back. Sometimes I question why he's even with me at all. I'm insecure about it, but my husband has always reassured me. He tells me he loves me, thinks I'm beautiful, and says not to listen to other people. Yesterday, everything changed. I bumped into an old boyfriend from college. We parted on good terms, and it turns out he's doing very well in his career. I'm looking to change jobs, and I'm pretty decent at what I do, so we exchanged LinkedIns. There was nothing inappropriate about our conversation, and I wouldn't have had any problem if my husband had heard it. The minute I got home, though, my husband started an argument. He had read through my LinkedIn message and swore that my ex was flirting with me. I told him that he wasn't. My husband then made fun of my ex's looks in some of the cruelest ways I've ever heard him speak. I told him to stop, saying we could talk when he wasn't acting this way. He scoffed and said that if this guy became my coworker and I cheated on him, it wouldn't matter. Then he added, "You're not attractive enough to cheat on me, not even to keep me." I was speechless. He slammed the bedroom door and locked me out for the night. I ended up sleeping on the sofa, but I woke up tucked into bed. I vaguely remember him walking me. This morning, he was incredibly sweet, kissing me before heading off to work. I can still replay what happened, but it's like my memory is out of body. I've never heard him say anything like that, ever. I feel so upset and uncomfortable. What do I even say to him? How do I ask him what he was thinking when he said those things? Did he really mean them? As a therapist who has worked with couples impacted by infidelity, I'm going to tell you 2 things. 1, there's no pretty privilege when it comes to cheating. Attractive people get cheated on every day. Unattractive people cheat every day too. So your husband's stance that you're not attractive enough to cheat on him and that he's safe because he's attractive is nonsense. 2, your husband knows you. He knows your insecurities and he knows what buttons to push. He knows you struggle with self-confidence and he saw that opportunity to poke at your soft spot and he went right on ahead and jabbed at it anyway. Part of marriage is being vulnerable with your partner about our insecurities, and he took that and had zero hesitation to use it against you in an argument. To me, that says a lot about him. The wound he created with his careless words is twofold. Not only are you questioning the attraction between the two of you, but you're also questioning the ability to be vulnerable with your own husband about your insecurities going forward. Today on Reddit Therapists, there's a loving relationship. The man is caring and sweet for 5 years and says something stupid when he's overwhelmed with negative emotions, realizes what a jerk he was hours later and is taking extra effort to make up for it. Must be masking. Finally the true face. Leave him, girl. And now give me your angry downvotes, hobby psychologists of Reddit. Well, the answer is obvious. Go out and cheat on him. Am I the jerk for not making my sister a sandwich when she gets home from school? My sister, who's 15, is the golden child of our parents, and I, 16, male, hate it. She's awful to be around and we can't stand each other. Sometimes she goes out of her way to show that our parents prefer her over me. My parents deny loving her more or seeing her as the favorite, but other people around us notice it. She gets bigger and more expensive gifts, more opportunities, and a lot of investment because she's really into gymnastics. Meanwhile, they scoff at my interest in game development and refuse to support it. They even raged at my grandparents, who do support me and pay for my Saturday classes. My parents accuse them of favoritism because they won't pay for my sister's gymnastics. My sister calls me a loser and a nerd, constantly telling me how her friends think I'm disgusting and would never date me. It doesn't bother me because I'm not into girls, but my sister doesn't know that. She keeps bringing up how gross and repulsive I supposedly am to all the girls at school. Once, she even bullied a girl who said I was cute, and the school came down hard on her. The girl ended up leaving school in the middle of the day because of my sister's harassment. My grandparents won't let my sister come to their house anymore because she won't be nice to me, and they refuse to let it slide. My parents, though, told me that I should stick up for her more. I asked why she gets to talk crap about me while I'm expected to defend her, and they just said, "She's your little sister." We're only 11 months apart. I get home from school before her every day because of her gymnastics. I usually make myself a sandwich or a quick bowl of noodles. When she gets home, she's hungry and demands that I feed her. I refuse. Last week, she mentioned it to our parents, and they told me I should make her a sandwich for when she gets home. I still said no. Then they told me that I didn't get to say no while eating their food, so I asked my grandparents if I could go to their house after school instead, and they said yes. Now my parents are upset that I won't do this for my sister. They keep telling me I need to be a better big brother and an overall better sibling. When my grandparents heard what my parents said, they called them names and took my side, saying my parents need to teach their disrespectful brat some manners because the way she talks to and about me is unacceptable. My parents told them to stay out of it and insisted that I should help my sister. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. But honestly, please go to a school counselor about this since it seems like a much larger issue. Maybe they can help facilitate a more holistic solution for you that I don't think the internet, who doesn't know the rest of the story, can. I babysat Karen's kids, but now she's refusing to pay me after snooping through my phone. I'm 22, female. I'm in college, but I work as a babysitter after school. I've been working for this mother since I was 20, and she had never had any complaints about me, and because her kids love me so much, that's why I've stayed with her for 2 years. I have a friend who was asking me what it's like to work with kids. I said it's fine, not great, but not too bad. Kids can be tiring, you just have to control yourself and don't let tantrums get under your skin, and it's gonna be fine. I said that even though I'm a person who doesn't generally love kids, because I've held this job for 2 years with 0 complaints, it's proof that I know how to deal with kids and how to throw away my personal feelings when it comes to work. I told my friend that through text message, and I was just giving her my raw experience and opinion. Now, 2 weeks later, I was at the lady's house and I left my phone charging, but I got notifications from said friend. The lady was still home and noticed my phone getting bombarded with notifications, so she for some reason opened it, and I guess she knew the PIN code because I sometimes give the kids my phone to play games. She took screenshots from the chat and airdropped them to herself, then left. I didn't realize that until my duty was finished and I went home saying that she hadn't sent me the payment yet. I waited until it was later, then I texted her, but she sent me the screenshots saying that I'm an awful human being and I don't deserve money and she doesn't want to see me in the house again. I already found a new job, but my friend told me I should report the lady for refusing to pay me, especially since she waited to fire me until after I had finished babysitting for her. Not the jerk. I'm glad you'll never work for her again because anyone who would go through your phone without your permission is a problem. Anyway, you need to get paid for your services, and hopefully the texts speak for themselves and don't make you look like she's trying to portray you, and that'll be clear to anyone who sees them. I hope this doesn't have any lingering effects on your ability to work for another family. My boyfriend refuses to propose to me. I got revenge. I'm 29, female. My boyfriend is 31, male, and we've been together for 7 years now. I had voiced that I wanted to be engaged before the 4-year mark. He agreed at the time. When we were half a year from reaching our 4-year anniversary, I had revisited the topic of marriage, and I told him I was expecting to get married. He was finishing up his master's program at the time and said he wanted to get out of student debt again and get his finances in order. I bit my tongue and I understood that we're partners and I can try to meet him halfway. He earns good money and we already moved in together 2 years into our relationship, and we did long distance when he was in his master's program. My job is remote, so I moved to his hometown 3 hours away from the original. I've been seeing all my friends and cousins get married, and it's hard to feel happy on such a joyous occasion when your ring finger feels so empty and everyone starts asking you. Lately, my partner has been thriving in work and enjoying his new life, and it's almost as if he forgot about our personal goals. When I initiated discussion again, I could sense he was dragging his feet. He didn't have enough money for a ring or savings for a wedding, when he would very well buy the motorbike he always wanted since he was a kid. He said our life is good as is. Why do we need a stamp of validation from the world? You're on your own health insurance, so what's the point? All of this just left me heartbroken. Why don't I deserve to be his wife after being his girlfriend for so long? Does he not love me enough to make a romantic gesture for me, choosing me over his useless bike? I talked to my sister who got engaged 2 years in her relationship, and her approach was simple yet effective. She told me to withdraw all my wife privileges from him until I get that title, that he has to earn me, not cleaning and cooking for him, moving out, not paying for his expenses sometimes, stuff like that. My boyfriend got mad because I didn't renew our lease with him, and he told me that's a very poor way of handling things and we need this constant in our life to preserve our relationship, telling me that's the kind of precedent I'm setting up for our eventual marriage. I have been a wife for you without the title. I gave myself completely to you, only to expect you to do this one thing for me. I've waited long enough. I don't really believe in ultimatums, so I'm not going to force your hand. I'm simply acting as your girlfriend now. If you really want our relationship to go back to what it was, you better give me an upgrade. What's the correct way of handling this? Edit. To all the dense folks asking me why I don't just propose, I have to say something. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Some people like things to be traditional, and he and I are certainly that way. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. In our culture, in 2023, in our relationship, a woman making comments about being ready to marry and wanting to get engaged is her proposal. Then it's up to the man to either accept by proposing formally or decline by not proposing. And at that stage, the woman proposing is embarrassing herself by doing so. It's just a dumb gotcha where people like to play faux dumb and scratch their heads at how daft cultural norms are and like to pretend that things have evolved to be how they wish them to be in the future. Similar to the fake disingenuous, wait, you've discussed marriage and both said you want it? Surely that means you're engaged. Why are you waiting for a ring? He probably doesn't even realize you need one. You're engaged. Just book a venue. Which pretends that proposals don't actually exist as a way of formally asking for marriage instead of merely expressing positive feelings towards the idea. Will you genuinely be happy if he decides to propose now, especially after you've pressured the situation, knowing that he never truly wanted to in the first place? Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.